Hello, hello. I am live. Figured I'd do some election coverage. We already kind of know the results of the Michigan primary, but in case anybody has watched the recent coverage, I figured this would be kind of fun to do, and we'll look at the results. I can say off the top of my head, they have not called a winner yet in terms of the Michigan primary, but it appears that Haley Stevens is not even cracking north of 40%. So I'm officially going to call the race. We'll kind of do that at the top of the stream, really, before anybody gets here. But I'll experiment as to how to share the screen so we could look at the most recent results together. There are a bunch of other results as well, including some under the radar congressional races. One is Sri Thanadar. He is an interesting kind of eccentric Tales from the Crypt like keeper. Sri Thanadar got into some controversy for testing on beagle animals, and he ran for governor in 2018 against Abdul El-Sayed and Gretchen Whitmer and failed, but then got a state rep seat. And he was known to ask consultants, do I go progressive? Do I go hard left? What do I do? And he had no personal inclination. So that's an interesting race. And race where William Lawrence is challenging kind of an establishment, very pro-Israel incumbent is an interesting race. And then we have in the state of Missouri, a couple of other interesting races. And I think we have a few people at least in watching now, which I appreciate. And as more people come in, I'm going to encourage them to actually go on the stream. Never done that before, but I think it would be fun to talk with people and either see their faces or hear their voices if they don't want to present their faces. But let's again look at the most recent batch. Again, they haven't called it, man. It's 3% in, but you're not going to make up this gap. So right now, and we're going to share the screen soon and figure out how to do that. Right now, Abdul El-Sayed has won. It's official. Nobody's called it, but I am calling it. I'm shocked that the mainstream media or no real organization has called this, but it is Abdul El-Sayed. He is the winner. He right now with 3%, he has 62.3% of the vote. 27,000 votes, with Haley Stevens a little less than 15,000 votes with 34%. So the big question of the night is Abdul El-Sayed going to win? He is certainly going to win. The question is, will Haley Stevens crack 40%? Will it be a 55-5 with Mallory McMurrow race to 35%, or will she might do somewhat respectably? Will she get 46, 47%? Well, I think that's impossible. Will she even get 43%? But I don't know why none of the mainstream media has called this, but Abdul El-Sayed is the winner. So we're going to try to look at the share screen. At least we have a couple people watching. I have no idea who would be watching and who wouldn't. And this is just kind of a free flow, so I do hope to hear from some of you in the chat. And again, if anybody wants to come on and have a conversation, again, we already know the results of one race. And I'm going to look at into sharing the screen. Stop screen. Thank you for bearing with me, guys. I'm not much of, I'm like a 95-year-old man. I don't know a lot about tech. Okay. Share screen. Share screen. Cool. Allow, I don't know if I allow a share screen window or allow share screen. I don't want to share this. Oh, yes, share this window. Perfect. Oh, cool. Look at that. Isn't that fancy? Can we make this bigger? Sorry, guys. I'm really like an old man learning things. See, old men on Facebook. There we go. All right, good. So we have, at least on the vertical side, I'm streaming vertically and I'm also streaming horizontally. So at least at the vertical side, oh my God, what I do. You really are watching an old man throw up on himself right now. On the vertical side, things look good. I believe you can see the results. I'm going to try to, if any of you guys, at least we have a few people watching. If any of you know how to share the screen where it looks like, there we go. Okay, this is much better. All right, so we are sharing this window, which I now have control of. We are back on track. And again, we're going to look at some of the competitive races that are happening. And just before the slight technical difficulty, I am officially calling a victory for Abdul El-Sayed against Haley Stevens. And it'll be interesting to see, does Mallory McMurrow, the third candidate in the race, does she get above 5%? Right now, she's about at 3.7%. Does she get above 5%? And if she does, what that's going to make her campaign think is, man, she should not have dropped out. There's been a radical trend lately in midterm races across the country of candidates just quitting the race. This happened in Wisconsin. David Crowley, the Milwaukee County executive, dropped out, endorsed Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez as the more establishment alternative to Francesca Hong, who's socialist. Then Sarah Rodriguez, her campaign fell off the skids because her campaign manager was fudging the numbers and misidentifying what was received in the campaign. She probably stole money, so that is a big problem. So Rodriguez dropped out, and then County Executive Crowley got back in. And then Mandela Barnes, who has been accused of apparently being a player and using his position to get laid a bunch. I guess some would see that as a scandal. He dropped out of the race. So Mallory McMurrow was one of those, not obviously different race, but Mallory McMurrow was one of those people who is starting this trend, which I think is a really bad trend of candidates just quitting. Even if you know you're going to get 8% of the vote, who cares? You know, you got in there, you were in the debates, people were paying attention to you. And as an independent journalist, it's a bummer for me because I went out to Michigan to cover this race. And I figured, great, there's going to be Abdul to see, which he certainly had a lot of events. Haley Stevens is going to wake up at the last 2 weeks. She did not. And Mallory McMurrow has been out there with campaign events and town halls, and she's been accessible. And I figured, okay, one of these can't, there's going to be enough for me to hang out in Michigan for a month. There wasn't, and because I got on Mallory McMurrow's press list, but then she dropped out. And Haley Stevens has run a very unique campaign where she has not hosted a single publicly accessible event. You might have seen the clip with Walter Masterson of him in the event in Traverse City. He probably found out about that event through being on a press list or knowing somebody who was on a press list. And even other campaigns where they didn't really host town halls or public events. And I covered the primary for a month in Texas, for example. They all kind of woke up. So James Tallarico was holding town halls the whole time. But at the last 2 weeks, Jasmine Crockett hosted about 20 publicly accessible events. I think she might have done much better had she started doing that earlier. Even Ken Paxton had 15 publicly accessible events. John Cornyn traveled the state. Lost badly. He had about 10 publicly accessible events. And of course, Wesley Hunt was doing publicly accessible events the whole time. Haley Stevens is a unique candidate. And I've gleaned this from being an independent YouTuber. She's a unique candidate in not hosting a single event where a member of the public can come to hear her speak or ask her a question. She is the first major midterm candidate not to have any accessible event. And as you can see, she is taking a whooping because of it. Let's look at the most recent results. So just a little insight. At least we have 6 people watching, better than 0. I appreciate you guys. Please do comment in the chat. Abdul is doing great, says Anorka. He's going to, yes, he is going to win. Not only is he going to win, but they should be calling the race. Right now, yeah, it's only 3.5%. If you have 62%, you're not making up any sort of gap. The one question, as I was saying before, will remain is, will she get even 40% of the vote? That's what we're wondering about. Will she get even 40%? And are you going to be kicking your own ass if you're Mallory McMurrow? And are you going to be pissed off that you dropped out of the race because as a ghost candidate, 4% of people are still voting for her? If Mallory McMurrow gets 5 or 6%, I think she has a future, but I think it also showed to the people, stop quitting these elections. So big results. Abdul El Sayed is going to win. I am calling it. Sorry, guys, I'm checking on my dog. I am calling it. It's official. I don't know why other people. My dog's right here. You want to say hi to my dog? We're in Plymouth, Massachusetts. There he is. Say hi. He doesn't care. He met Abdul and he met Mallory McMurrow, but he never got to meet Haley Stevens, and that's a big tragedy. He would have loved Haley Stevens, I'm sure. Israel sure does. I think my dog loves Israel. Abdul is doing great. Yes, Abdul is doing great. Let's look at some of the other races, because again, this is not the only story of kind of the new left and the new direction of the Democratic Party battling against the establishment left. How much relevancy do they have? Texas was not a result of that because you had Sorry, guys, this bad glare on this screen. Texas was not an example of that because you didn't really have very anti-Israel candidates or any socialist aligned candidates or anything like that. But let's look at why can't I find Michigan here? This is again me being old. If not, what we'll do, okay. We'll go to Sri Thanadar. I want to show you. He is talk about a strange looking man. And this is an old photo, but let's look at the results of the great Sri Thanadar. Let's look at it. I need you to spend at least 30 seconds looking at this. I want this in your dreams, in your nightmares. So Sri is an interesting candidate. He is running for re-election against Donovan McKinney. And he got in trouble for he owned a manufacturing and soap company and was testing on beagles and was very abusive towards beagle dogs. So he encountered that problem. He ran against Abdul El-Sayed. I do have an email, but I'm gonna log. I hope you can't see my social security number, can you? Oh God, I'm gonna get hacked. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, they should have more results than this. What the hell am I paying for? Are you kidding me? I don't know how there's 0 results for this strange election. So Sharif Thanadar, again, never really knew where he was going, didn't kind of align himself with anybody in particular, and then became a big supporter of Israel and has become one of the most heavily funded candidates by AIPAC, by Israel. He certainly voted against the certain resolution to limit funding. I guess my assumption is in certain parts of Michigan, which this is probably decent for Abdul El-Sayed. I mean, he might end up getting 65% of the vote when all of this is said and done, because it doesn't look like that district was in Detroit, and it doesn't look like we have the results for that district yet, which again is very surprising. Let's look at the other result. William Lawrence, I know a little bit less about that race. But again, challenging somebody who is an AIPAC enthusiast and who has been one of the strongest supporters of AIPAC. So we have some results for this. Oh, no, so he wasn't challenging. I believe this was an open seat. I believe this is the open seat for Debbie Stabenow. Debbie Stabenow was kind of this institutional legend who had been there for a myriad of decades, retiring if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was in Western Michigan, Lansing, but don't quote me on it. Right now, with 10% of the vote, it seems like William Lawrence, who is endorsed by Bernie Sanders, who is certainly the anti-Israel candidate, who is hard left. Matt Mazdam had kind of some unique support as well, but Bridget Brink was really this establishment candidate, I believe, supported by Gretchen Whitmer. If you're Gretchen Whitmer, if you're the governor of Michigan, you are having a very bad night tonight. Right now, she has 2 of her candidates that are getting their ass kicked. So it looks like William Lawrence, who is the hard left candidate in the race, endorsed by Bernie Sanders, rallied with Abdul El-Sayed, endorsed by Abdul El-Sayed. It looks like he's going to win this. It's only 10%, but then you have to look at how much is there to count and how big is the discrepancy? Now, with 10% of the vote, if Lawrence were ahead of Bridget by 6%, then you could catch that up. But I don't think you're going to catch up a 16-point deficit. And remember, the deficit, the change in votes could also come from Mazdam. He could do a little worse. So you're if in a 3-way race, you're only 7%, 6.5% away from 50% in a 3-way race. Another victory for Abdul El-Sayed, for William Lawrence. I'm going to call this race for him right now. The mainstream media is not, but I'm calling this congressional race for William Lawrence. So far, it's 2 for 2 if you're a Bernie Sanders supporter. There's some others that I was into. We talked about Lawrence. C. Hines. Oh, and let's look at governor. This is an interesting. Okay, so this is I think John James is probably going to win this. This is talk about all right. We were looking at Sri Thanadar. Sri. Let's look at some other strange. There are a lot of like strange crypt keepers running in this election. So we are looking at Sri Thanadar, and he looks like we're still waiting for those results with his race against Donovan McKinney, who is a state rep. Uh, It's very strange, strange man. We're also going to look at Perry Johnson. Perry Johnson previously ran for president in 2024. Oh, whoops, Ron. I'm see how much of an old man I am. That my first thought of Perry's Perry Como, big Perry Como fan. But I'm not a big Perry Johnson fan. But let's look at Perry Johnson. So Perry Johnson is a billionaire. He ran for president last time, but he couldn't get on the debate stage and flamed out. Now he is running a campaign against the Trump endorsed candidate, who is John James. Uh, John James, interestingly enough, is a black Republican. He's in Congress. Trump is endorsed him. And it's interesting with the many criticisms of Trump. I don't think he's terribly racist because he's always enthusiastic about endorsing black GOP up and comers. So he enthusiastically endorsed John James, who I think is probably the stronger candidate ultimately. Mike Cox, Mike Cox, Mike Cox, Mike Cox, Mike Cox dropped. Mike Cox dropped. Mike Cox dropped. Mike Cox, the former attorney general, dropped out. So he's looking at 12%. I'd be kicking myself if I were him, if he got this much of the vote even though he dropped out, what would have happened when he stayed in. But Perry Johnson was running against the Trump endorsed candidate, John James, with 35%. He's about 16 points south of uh, John James, who is the Trump endorsed candidate right here. But maybe he could catch up. It's only 3% of the vote in. But the fact that this was a close race at all, a lot of people felt like John James didn't possess much of the charisma or anything like that. So for Perry Johnson, again, very odd looking man. Uh, for Perry Johnson to even have a fighting chance in hell is pretty impressive. He's a strange, strange man. Uh, let's see. Oh, we got some comments. All right. Yes, talking about Shri, Anna. Thank you for joining us, Anna Kroll. He isn't only weird looking. He is weird. Amen. Professor Khan, very cool. Love the birds. Hey, if you're a fan of the Doves, the Bernie Sanders wing is winning so far. They're 2 for 2. I'm going to call the William Lawrence race. Um, and we should have polls closing in Missouri relatively soon, which is a rematch of Cori Bush versus Wesley Bell. Wesley Bell was a tough on crime state prosecutor running against Cori Bush 2 years ago, 2 years ago, who was a squad member endorsed by AOC. Wesley Bell was talking about a tough on crime message, knocked out Cori Bush. So we'll look at that. You will be astonished what happens to tallies here in Michigan. They could swing somewhat, but this is such a discrepancy. I don't know why they are not calling it for Abdul El Sayed. It's a call. He's won. Why is it? I don't know why there's no fucking check mark. There must be. I'm going back. There must be a check mark at this point. Let's see if does NBC call a winner. Computer's a little so slow. Too much prawn. 61.6 Abdul El Sayed. So I'm shocked that this is not called, but he is miles and miles ahead of Haley Stevens. And the only question is, does Haley Stevens crack 5%? Thanadar's commercial, yes. Famous moment. We're talking about Shri Thanadar. Glad you brought him up. Let's look at Shri. I'm just gonna have a Shri background the entire time. Gotta love him. I think that I don't think we're going to look at the results anymore. We're just going to look at this the entire time. This is going to be in your dreams when you go to bed, when you go to the bathroom, and this, honestly, like uh, this entire stream is dedicated to Shri and all that he stands for. I wonder if we got some results. Shri. But what were we saying? Yeah, Thanadar's commercial was in front of the Ambassador Bridge, and he was speaking about the Gordie Howe Bridge how unknowing, he didn't know the points here. Yes. So a great moment is when Sri Thanadar, there was a bridge closed between Canada and Detroit, and Sri had a press conference to brag that he was instrumental in getting that bridge reopened, but he was actually at a different bridge. He was supposed to be in front of the bridge that he helped to reopen, but he's actually at a different, completely different bridge. So he's not the smartest. Let's look if there is if there are some results. I mean, there's some results for that race yet. I really hope there are. Doesn't even have it. I'm gonna have to manually look it up. Sorry, you're watching like an old man. Old man streaming. Sri Thanadar results. Okay, we have results. I'm calling it. I'm calling it. I'm calling it. It's only 2% in, but again, there's you even with 2% of the vote in, you could get an idea. You essentially have to say for Sri to win, he's at 34%, and Donovan's at 66%. You have to essentially say, yes, it's only 3% of the vote that is in, 2% of the vote. You have to essentially say, is 98% of the vote going to be vote dramatically, radically, psychotically different than this? Or are they going to vote along a somewhat similar pattern? And a somewhat similar pattern could be a discrepancy of 10%. It could be off by that much. It could be off by 20, but even if it's off by 1/4 of the vote, by 25%, Donovan still wins with 51% of the vote. McKinney is winning again, guys. It's like the mainstream media doesn't want to call these things because they have to be careful, but I don't have to be careful. This is if again now Bernie Sanders is 3 for 3. Abdul El Sayed is 3 for 3. Gretchen Whitmer, who I believe she endorsed Sri, is 0 for 3. She is the governor. So not a good night for her. Donovan McKinney very much expected to win. He got a lot of Bernie support. So very good night if you're on the harder left of things. Perry is the crypt keeper, precisely. Choices are shit either way, perhaps. No kidding, Benson or Swanson. What a horrible choice. Please, Dodge. No, I'm in his district. Sorry you're in his district. That's a bummer. So that's big. Only 3% of the vote in. And we'll take another look at Michigan just to see if there's been any change whatsoever. Again, if anybody wants to come on, I mean, we only have a handful of people watching, but if anybody wants to come on and talk, they are more than welcome to, because I think that would be fun. 59.8% of the vote is Abdul El Sayed, to Haley Stevens now a little less than 37%. So again, the biggest question is, does she even crack 40% of the vote? I think the answer is no. This is a devastation if you're the establishment wing of the party. They were trying to set this all up for Haley Stevens. Actually, there's an interesting website. There's an interesting website that gives the entire electoral history of every single candidate who has run for office. And so her electoral, it always has some glitchy thing though. I'm revealing like everything and reveal my social security number next. Hey, if I do that, you better give me a super chat. If you open up a credit card, there we go. All right, I was able to get it. But it's interesting just to look at the electoral history of some of these candidates, because Haley Stevens. Oh, wasn't able to get to do it. Well, Haley Stevens knocked out a candidate who was anti-Israel. So her whole reason for being, the whole reason she was able to win, is because AIPAC supported her in a congressional race against one of the few Democrats at the time who was actually anti-Israel and said that it was a genocide, and that didn't vote for further Israeli weapons funding. And so that's how she got. It's not that she was just supported by AIPAC, is that she, too bad I can't log in, is that she owned her entire career to AIPAC. That's how she essentially got established at a 46 million she got. Yes. Stevens is going down. Yes, she beat Levin exactly. Yes, Andy Levin, who was very good. Yes, good to have a local on here. Looking at see if there's any update in terms of any loss. So now he's a little under 60%. So this is an interesting little comment, live comment from a New York Times person who's saying the results from mostly from the college town of Ann Arbor. Yes, so this is so he might, it'll be interesting how big the victory is. If he gets less than 55, Haley Stevens will be able to save some face. And right now, he might be at the best position he's ever been because Ann Arbor, which is the home of the University of Michigan, is going to have they're going to mostly vote in favor of El Sayed. Hey, Kid Freshie, what's your boy Sliwa up to these days? That's a good question. I think well, he's running for mayor again. He announced his candidacy running for mayor. And I think he's working with a Cats Save the Cats organization, being a character. I thought Sliwa should have run for governor. I think if Sliwa actually ran, he'd have a chance because he wasn't this Trump figure. He was a lot more libertarian. He was pro gay rights. He didn't like what ICE was doing in terms of immigration. He wanted to rein them in. So in that regard, he would have been a good candidate. And I think a lot of people outside of New York City liked him in Westchester, in Dutchess County, in Rockland County, whatever, in Long Island. So I think he lost a moment, but he says he's running for mayor. Let's look at some of the Missouri results. Oh, whoops, wrong one. I forgot that I could look at this and do this at the same time. Ouch. Ouch. So this is one loss for Bernie Sanders. Sorry guys, I'm checking on my dog. Make sure he's all right. Hey, hey, hey! Hey, come here. Dog ran off. Sorry. Hey. Oh, there he is. Okay. Still got stuff to do. Do you see him? He says hello. Can you chill for a second? I'll sign off soon because I think my dog wants to go for a walk. But so this is an interesting result. It was a very good night for the hard left, for the Bernie Sanders wing of the party, for the anti-Israel wing of the party. And they were hoping included in those good results would be an impressive victory in Missouri. Wesley Bell previously ran and knocked off Cori Bush in the past, and he ran as a law and order candidate, as sort of a tough on crime prosecutor within the city of St. Louis. And this is, only 16% of the vote, but I think Wesley Bell is expected to win this fairly easily. The question is by how much does he win by? With 16%, of course, it's not enough for the mainstream media, understandably, because they're a little more careful. For the mainstream media to call it, but I think that's fairly easy to call. Do you think Tallarico is going to pull this off? That is a very good question. I think so because the polling has been very consistent, where he is peaking at the right time, and before he is 1 or 2 points ahead of Paxton. Now at this point, if you look at polling, he is more consistently ahead of Paxton. I would say by 5 or 6 points. We could look at some of the trends on it. So 2%, so maybe not. Honestly, if you look at stuff, he was looking good for a while. There's a third candidate in the race, which I think that probably helps Tallarico tremendously. And he's Ted Brown. He's a relatively well qualified libertarian candidate. So I think probably Tallarico does pull it off. He's very, very slow and steady. And I think one of the reasons he pulls it off, which is one of the reasons Abdul is doing so well, is he's just had a lot of opportunities. Cori Bush is gaining steam. He's had a lot of opportunities for voters to actually see him. And Ken Paxton is not really campaigned. And Ken Paxton was able to not campaign with Trump's endorsement last time around. But I think his lack of actually being out there and doing that much and having opportunities for voters to actually meet him, I think that's going to be a death knell, especially in a close race. Because even Ted Cruz, when he was running against Beto O'Rourke, he was a lot more active in having events, and I think that probably made the difference. But very good question. Looking to see if there's any other races. Probably not. We'll take a look back at some of the congressional races. It's getting tighter. Huh. So I might eat my shorts. This has gotten to be a much tighter race than it was 5 minutes ago. And 17% of the votes in. And before, Haley Stevens was at about 36%. And Abdul El Sayed was at about 61%. Now it's gotten much tighter, where it's only an 8-point discrepancy. Before it was about a 22-point discrepancy. Now it is an 8-point discrepancy. Only 17% of the vote in. I'm trying to figure out if we could look at some of the maps. Let's look at why this might be. There's a tightening. Now, one of the reasons for the results is one of the early result drops was Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor, home of the University of Michigan, was a college town. So how much do we have of Grand Rapids? 20% of the vote of Grand Rapids coming in. So I'm going to say that if what is left to be counted, I don't think it's going to make up for the discrepancy. So you have half of Ann Arbor in right now. If what's left to be counted is going to help Haley Stevens, because I'm trying to think, is there any other? Bay City is one decently sized city. Bay City and Bay County. Saginaw is near here, unless I don't think that's Saginaw, but there's Saginaw. So, I loved a girl in Saginaw, Michigan. Ran up with a girl in Saginaw Bay. Classic. So Saginaw hasn't come in. That's a real city. Um, but most of the urban centers have come in because, of course, you have Grand Rapids, which I think probably has somewhere like 200 to 300,000 people. And that's going to be a stronghold of El Sayed's. Well, I mean, if he's doing well in Grand Rapids, it's good for Abdul El Sayed because Grand Rapids has a heavy black population, but they don't have a very strong Muslim population. Whereas Detroit, of course, has Hamtramck and Dearborn. They have strong Muslim populations. So if he's doing respectably well in Grand Rapids and Kent County, in an area where Stevens is expected to get out most of her support, most of the black vote, I'd rather be Abdul El Sayed, but it's certainly a tightening race than it was before. Oh, there's a dog out. Cool. My dog says hello. So Detroit, we're looking, it's 50% to 47%. So it's very tight. I mean, it's only 2% of the vote in Detroit. So this is very good news for Abdul El Sayed. As we were saying, the polls have certainly been tightening, but it's only 2% of Detroit in. So what's in that is bad for El Sayed is there's a lot of Ann Arbor that's already in, and there's a lot of Grand Rapids that's already in. But most of Detroit, there's going to be a lot of conversation about, is Detroit going to be Haley Stevens' stronghold or is it going to be Abdul El Sayed stronghold? Because Detroit has less young people, less of a college base, but they certainly have a strong Muslim population there. But they also have a strong black population. So all eyes will kind of be on the resulting results of Detroit. But let's see if there's been any difference in terms of the polling. I think my dog wants to join me. You come. Come. Hey. Or not. I got my dog over here. He says hello. You're right, Stephen. I warn you that Michigan will find votes for whatever outcome they want. Be honest, would Jasmine be this close? Well, Jasmine, it was a much closer race between Crockett and Tellerico. So now at 52 to 44. So right now it's still, I think Jasmine Crockett lost by about 6 to 7%. If Haley Stevens even puts up a fight, she has a future ahead of her. It wasn't as embarrassing as people said. It wasn't the 60-40 blowout, but all eyes are going to be on Detroit. And quite frankly, what is the voter turnout of Detroit? Right now, again, we only have 2%. And it's a very tight race. It'll be interesting to look who does better in rural counties, because that will be, if there's a lot of the vote to be counted, but it's all rural counties. If Abdul El Sayed is doing surprisingly well, because the assumption would be they're more conservative Democrats in more conservative counties. And so if Abdul El Sayed is winning the so-called conservative rural counties, a lot of that's the Bernie Sanders effect. You could think of rural areas in New Hampshire really supporting him. There's kind of an anti-establishment FU. So I'd be happy if I were holding my own. Because remember, here in St. Joseph County, you're not going to have many Muslim people. You will have less than 2%. And so if he's doing respectably, and I'll get more specific, because I've been all around the country, so I could kind of analyze some of these cities. I'm just matching the cities with the counties. Right now I'm in Plymouth. I was trying to cover the Lindsey Clancy trial, but we will go far away to Michigan. I'll close the door. I got the neighbor's dog hanging out. So we're looking at some of the, if you can see, like the rural, where's rural? It's here, Lansing, Grand Rapids, Detroit. Kalamazoo is a decent sized city. And then if we're looking at any of the southern counties here, they are all quite rural. One, you could say is close enough to South Bend, that Mayor Pete Buttigieg is the mayor of a college town, Niles, but this is a very rural area. And so again, if Abdul Sayed, let's try to refresh just to get the most updated. If Abdul El Sayed, 85%, if he's winning, remember, let's look at St. Joseph County. Let's third down. So it's going to be one of these areas. It's going to be probably Niles. Tiny little neck of the woods. I always like zooming in because it reminds me of all the places I've gone with my dog and looking at, where's the river go? But see, little small. If Abdul is winning this, there's not going to be a huge segment of Muslim people here. And so a lot of the typical perception of the media was, well, he's only going to win in some of these urban areas, and anywhere outside he's going to get wiped out. But that's far from the case. 47%, he's holding his own. And this is tiny, but it's a tiny county. Cass County is 5%, and it's less than 200 people voting, but he's winning comfortably with that. And let's see if the race tightens at all. They just called Benson. Yeah, I figured that's not. I don't even know who she's running against. What is Oakland County? That is a good question. You want me to look at Oakland? I will tell you if they have it. Let's look at all the ones they do have. So yeah, Oakland's right outside of Detroit. So Oakland County is a very close race, obviously, as you can see. As I remember my geography correctly, Dearborn would be in Wayne County. Hamtramck would be in Wayne County. Up here would be like Ferndale. And then up here would be what I would call urban suburban. It would be less of a Muslim population, still decently black, I would say. I would expect it to be a good area for Haley Stevens. And the fact that it's close, I mean, Oakland County, people look at Oakland in presidential races all the time because it always is kind of a swing county in a swing state. So Oakland is always very important. And I think the fact that El Sayed is holding his own in that county is a good thing if you're an El Sayed supporter. Another thing that you would look at is, of course, the common knowledge is that Abdul El Sayed is hard left, and he's only going to get places that the left wins. Meaning that, yeah, of course, inside the city of Detroit, the Democrats in Detroit are going to be the most liberal, but he never win the votes of, for example, although he might, of St. Joseph County, or he never, that usually goes Republican. Remember, they always make the argument, I am the candidate in the primary who got the Republican districts in the primary, which shows that they like me better, which shows that I could win. Well, look at this. It's kind of a split difference. You're splitting the baby here in all of these rural counties. This is Saginaw. Saginaw is a real city. Um, if this holds up, it's only 3%, but if Abdul El Sayed wins up Saginaw, uh, if he ends up winning this, it's a very good sign for him because it's not supposed to be an anchor of his support. So again, you look at all of this. This is interesting. A very rural county, only 4% in, but Abdul is winning. Charlevoix, if that's how to say it, is some would say Charlevoix is the Hamptons of the Midwest. This is a very snooty, fancy, rich air, rich as the Midwest could be. It's very Republican. I've been around there. I'll tell you that much. It's beautiful. They have green lakes and things, and it sits on the Great Lake. But Charlevoix, it would be fascinating to see if Abdul wins this because of the symbolism, because this is the elite of Michigan, essentially in this county. And if he wins that county, it'll show even the moneyed elite, which are supposed to be the standards of the APAC supporting Democrats, even the moneyed elite who would vote in this primary are not necessarily going to vote for Haley Stevens. You could think of this county as being, yeah, the Hamptons or the Jackson Hole, Wyoming of Michigan. So let's look to see if there's been any other update. Oakland County 15 years ago was one of the top 5 richest, interesting counties in America. That's probably changed. Dodge, check out Charlie LaDuff. He is local at the Michigan Enjoyer, and he's chased corruption. Very cool. I'll screenshot that. Thank you. Screenshot it right now. Charlie LaDuff. Appreciate that. Let's see, 18%. It's getting to be a much surprisingly a tighter race than I thought. No, that's not how you say it. Charlevoix. Oh, I said Charlevoix. They should say Charlevoix. It's a French word. They should fucking say Charlevoix. Damn it. But yes, no, I didn't. I knew I butchered that. Let's look at some of see if they have key races anywhere. We could have fun with Kansas. Because there was a Democratic primary there. Adam Hamilton was kind of the endorsed establishment guy. Not that any, in that one, they didn't even get Bernie didn't get involved or anything like that. Well, that's kind of all of this is kind of, I don't know anything about these races. So does anybody care? Probably not. So that was Michigan. Virginia, I don't know anything was happening. US Senate. Oh, well, this will no longer be a competitive. This is mildly interesting because it's always interesting to see the black Republicans who try to become winners. And, if they do make it, they become kind of national figures just for being a black Republican. So it doesn't, and David Williams, the black Republican, did not make it. So that was the biggest news. But Mark Warner should probably win the general election with at least 58% of the vote. Let's take another look at Missouri. It's official. It's official, as I called it. So this was a loss. This is a loss for Bernie Sanders. This is a loss for the hard left. This was a win for APAC. APAC had a win, and they chose Wesley Bell. Wesley Bell, former district attorney around St. Louis. running on a pro-law and order platform a handful of years ago against Cori Bush. Cori Bush was a hard-left member of the squad endorsed by AOC, endorsed by Bernie Sanders. She got knocked out for re-election by Bell. Cori Bush felt like in this environment, she is making a comeback. Now, what does this say? That media is really going to use Wesley Bell's success as a see I told you so example of how black voters, whether it be in the primary or the general, are not into the hard left, that black voters are not into Bernie Sanders, that they don't really care about who Israel funds. And this race is going to be the most powerful selling point that they can use to make this argument. The fact that Wesley Bell not only beat Cori Bush, but beat her so vociferously. Will it tighten up somewhat with 74% of the vote left? Perhaps. But this is a hidden race in a lot of ways. And the Democrats running for president, somebody like Josh Shapiro, who is an AIPAC supported candidate, he's going to say, listen, I have a chance in this Democratic primary because Democratic voters don't care about Israel. Look what happened to Cori Bush. She got annihilated. And not only Democratic voters don't care, but black Democratic voters don't care. And watch, it's interesting. I don't think this is accurate, but watch some of the candidates say being pro-Israel is being pro-black, and those who are pro-Israel will all of a sudden get the black vote. That is not, it is just one race, but that is an argument that will be used, which will be interesting. So it's it's some of this is closer than I thought. Well, I mean, some of the Michigan stuff is closer than I thought. Let's look at there's something in Washington. Oh, Marie Glosenkamp Perez. Look at some of her TikTok and Instagram streams. It looks like she has a meth addiction. She is a very strange cat. People do not like her because she is very much supported by AIPAC in Israel. She did knock out an incumbent who was endorsed by Trump, and they split the vote because it was a final two runoff primary. Marie Glosenkamp Perez was not expected to win a GOP seat. She beat Joe Kent. Joe Kent was an FBI guy. If you want to look, he's, I'm not gay, but he's a hunk. I will admit this. They're both kind of good looking. So she beat Joe Kemp, who was Trump endorsed, and Joe Kemp beat a sane Republican and Marie Glosenkamp Perez, who simply owned an auto body repair shop. She came out of nowhere and won that election. Now, Joe Kent, I thought he was a tool in the past, but he has spoken out against Trump on his handling of Iran and his transparency with the FBI. So kind of mad respect for Joe Kent, he should probably run again, honestly. And where Marie Glosenkamp Perez, kind of down to earth, very down to earth looking, kind of cute. And she is the John Fetterman of Congress, I would say. So we won't get those results, probably not with me, unless you really like the stream and you want me to. We've gotten a few more views, so I appreciate that, guys. Please do subscribe. I don't think we'll get to Washington, but maybe we will, because that's another big one too. Can the Fetterman style Democrats, again, this is all about Israel, all of these, it is interesting with all these races, all of it boils down to reaction to Israel. So we'll take another update on the Michigan Senate. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Let's look at what Detroit has right now. Detroit has 2%. Again, I think Detroit is going to be very helpful towards Abdul El-Sayed. And they have all these rural counties to count. The assumption is that Haley Stevens would get at least 60% in these rural counties. She is not getting 60%. She is losing some of these rural. Saginaw is not a rural county. That's a real city. But this little blip county winning, again, it's only 1%, but generally these voting patterns kind of reflect the same, even if you have 98% of the vote that's left to go. So please do subscribe, guys. I don't know if I'll get any new subscribers after this, but I much appreciate it. Another rural county, Haley Stevens is kicking Abdul El-Sayed's ass. So this might be closer than I thought. I thought it would be a 60-40 race. I'm still calling it. I don't see any way Abdul loses. At this point, it's an 8% gap. The things that are waiting to come out for him, Ann Arbor was the very first that came out before Grand Rapids. which he's still winning. That came out before a lot of these, before a big suburban county. So he was ahead with 60%. And then now it looks much tightening. But I think as we see the results of Detroit, which of Wayne County specifically, which include Hamtramck, which include Dearborn, it's going to be very strong for Abdul El Sayed. The question is, how powerful is a black vote for Stevens, and is it that reliable and strong for her? And I'm going to say no, because here's Kent County. This is where Grand Rapids is, also a strong amount of black residents, and he is winning Grand Rapids quite comfortably. And generally, you could look at similar patterns, right? Detroit's going to be the most liberal part of the state. What's going to be the second most liberal part of the state? It's either going to be Lansing, which is a college city, or it's going to be Grand Rapids, which is the second biggest city. So if you're doing this well in the second biggest city of Grand Rapids, which might be a little more conservative, which might be, you might care less about Israel, might vote a little more for Stevens. If you're still winning Grand Rapids, you're gonna rape in Detroit. So let's look at some others. Let's look at some other races. Let's catch up with some of the congressional races. Please do subscribe, guys. We want to take a look at a little bit of this as well. Again, the primary between John James and I didn't mean to do that, between John James and Perry Johnson. And Perry Johnson was this very creepy kind of billionaire guy. Jocelyn Benson won, unsurprisingly. And here's John James, 51% of the vote to 35. You know, it looks like Perry Johnson's putting up a fight. John James is a Trump endorsed candidate. Unique. Trump likes to support black Republicans. He's big on kind of building up his party's tent, probably to little effect. This is Mike Cox. Mike Cox is down. He dropped out. Mike Cox dropped. 12%. Goodbye, Mike Cox. I miss Mike Cox. All right. Let's see. Detroit, Hines, Lawrence. So let's do this one. So this is a big one. Donovan McKinney versus Sri Thanadar. Only 2% of the vote in, so we really don't have that much, but something. And trying to see if any other key races were occurring. Probably not. I might walk my dog relatively soon. Guys, please do subscribe, though, if you can. Got a few people watching here and there. I appreciate it. I didn't think we'd have anybody watching because it's not Scientology. We could always talk about Scientology. Anybody wants to bring it up. There's been some interesting court developments and things like that. Anti-Scientology for all those who are new. That's mostly the results. You know, they're not calling it, but I would call it for Abdul Sayed. That would be my 2 cents. Wayne County reported margins. They're saying Stevens so far up by 3. I think that's going to change. Again, it's all looking at this right now in Detroit. Haley Stevens is ahead. And you would want to be ahead if you were Abdul El Sayed. But it's 2% of the vote. It's a close race, surprisingly. And Arbor, not close at all. That is entirely college town, so that makes sense. 53% of the vote, a lot more of the vote is in there. Grand Rapids, I keep looking at Grand Rapids. Again, the fact that Abdul El Sayed is doing that well in Grand Rapids is a good sign and makes me think he's going to win it. He's going to win it. The question is, does he win it very comfortably or a little comfortably? A little comfortably would be 3 to 5%. Very comfortably would be 7 to 11%. Right now, he would be winning by about 8%. So I would say quite comfortable. Now, I would say you live to fight another day if you were Stevens, if you got a respectable 45%. She's hovering just around the 45%. So will it be, all right, who gained votes? Ooh, Abdul lost a little bit. Now we're at 52.5 to 44.4. So what were we looking at before? There was a 0.1 difference. So Stevens is slowly getting better numbers with 18% of the votes in. Let's look to see if any of those cities or any of those counties have changed. Guys, please do say something in chat if you would like to. That would be great. Please do subscribe. So this is where all the votes are left. Mainly Detroit. Detroit is being very slow compared to everywhere else. Of course, you get these rural areas, which is not much. This is interesting too. It takes a long time to count votes in Michigan. They're not that efficient. In other states, they're a lot more efficient. And you get the results, and you have a much clearer picture. You know, the latest you get the results of most of everything would be 45 minutes later. The state of New York is like that. In New York, you know who the winner is 10 minutes ahead of time because 80% of the vote is already counted. It is interesting to analyze how each state kind of does it differently. Saints at 52.3. I'm going to call it. I'm going to call. Well, I called it a long time ago. I'm still calling it for Abdul Sayed, but it's getting tighter. It is getting tighter. So, again, a lot of this, in addition to the Israel and all that, and as everybody's discussed, it'll be an analysis of what matters in elections. Does meeting matters? Does meeting voters still matter? Does being accessible still matter? Does being open to questions and being transparent still matter? Or is all you need is $40 million? And in an internet age where nobody shows up in person anymore, and we're losing that human to human connectivity, Abdul El Sayed has been trying to have a lot more human to human events. Will it matter? Or are we in a new world where you could be a symbol almost like an AI generated robot and not actually go and campaign and meet people? So we're all talking about what this means for the left and what this means for Israel. But I say, what does this mean for journalism? What does this mean for free enterprise? What does this mean for accessibility, transparency, and open elections? And if you support accessibility, transparency, and open elections where you, as the populace, can't participate, you'd be favoring Abdul. Because I was so discouraged because there wasn't a single public event for me to go to and cover Haley Stevens in Michigan. That's why I left early. There's just nothing to do. She wasn't making herself available to voters. It will, if she wins, less and less people will host town halls. And we see people getting mad at town halls, at their congressperson. Oh, congressman, whatever, you never hosted town hall. Well, why would they if they got elected not having to do that? And it's the opportunity where they could slip up or they could get tripped up on a question because they're not corporate mainstream media. It's just anybody. Mallory McMurrow, to her credit, had a lot of publicly accessible events, a lot of town halls, a lot of interesting conversations. She's, the ghost of her is doing okay. She's getting 3.1. I'd be very happy if I were her if I got 6%. I don't think that's going to happen. Mouth is dry. So like some of the rural counties, again, 12%, and Abdul's still winning. It's just a few hundred people voting here. But again, if he's winning a county that's this rural, people are expecting Haley Stevens right off the bat with 12%. That's more than right off the bat. They're expecting her to get 60 to 70%. So if this is supposed to be her bread and butter in a lot of ways, so-called conservative normie Democrats, he shouldn't be winning this county. This is Kalamazoo. This would be a more white city, a decent sized city. We can't talk much about Kalamazoo because it's only 1% of the vote, but so far he's winning Kalamazoo. There's Detroit probably has like 3, 4 real decent sized cities, and Detroit again. All eyes on Detroit. what is actually going to come into Wayne County? What is going to be a stronger vote total? There is a significant Muslim population there. Are they going to come out? Do they all vote? Are they all voting for Abdul? Is there a hidden black vote that is enthusiastic for Haley Stevens that doesn't really care? So far, I wouldn't be upset if I were Abdul to be only 3 points behind Haley Stevens with 2% in. But again, a lot more of the vote is in Grand Rapids, 20%. Abdul is 15 points ahead of Haley Stevens. This is a city where we get 20% of the vote. It is the second largest city in it is the second largest city in the state of Michigan, and it probably votes in similar patterns than the largest city, Detroit, would vote in. It's not a isolated place in the middle of nowhere. And the fact that with a solid 20% of the vote in, Abdul El Sayed is getting 55% of the vote, beating Haley Stevens by 15%. That's very good if you're Abdul El Sayed. There's less of a Muslim population. A lot of the mainstream media are just saying the Muslim, that's all he's relying on. There's that one woman who said he never made himself available to black voters. This wasn't true. Just look at my live streams and you could see he had a lot of black support. But I'd be very encouraged. But I know and I declare Abdul El Sayed to be the victor, but it's getting closer than it was. Now it's even tighter, 51. So this is interesting too. Update by the New York Slimes, as Mark Levine says. Haley Stevens is trailing statewide in the reported vote, and she holds just a 2-point lead in Oakland County. Remember, that's a suburban swing county she represents in Congress. The outstanding ballots are largely election day votes, a block that's favored El Sayed across the state. So remember, guys, we were looking at why is she doing so well in this all-important populated suburban county? Uh-oh, this shows that she has appeal, right? Well, no, she represents this county. Okay, so, you should be dominating your home base. She's might not win her home base. Let's look at the Texas result. Jasmine Crockett versus James Tellerico. I spent a month in Texas covering that race. Tellerico did better than expected in many cities, but Jasmine Crockett still won Dallas, her neck of the woods. Not only did she win Dallas, she won it by 11 points. Now, Tellerico did very well, better than people thought in San Antonio. He dominated. He got north of 60% in Austin, and in all the little medium-sized college towns, he dominated. But even in that's why, like, it's fun to compare some of these midterm candidates. Jasmine Crockett, infinitely a better candidate than Haley Stevens ever was. So I'd be very upset if I were Haley Stevens, and I'm thinking I'm only 2% ahead in a district in the same area that has voted for me 3 times. And then again, not a lot of Muslims here. Why, with 20% of the vote in, is Abdul El Sayed winning the second largest city by 15 points? Need a cigarette after this. So anybody wants to go on the stream, please do. Please do. Anybody wants to chat, please. We got a nice amount of people watching, but nobody chatting. Damn, guys. Anna, how are you doing? You're the one person that was chatting, which I appreciate it. Let's look at some of the congressional races again. But I'm an old man, so I have to figure out how to find it. It's not a lot of races. It's kind of the bummer about tonight. There's only this one. So this is getting tighter. I still think he's going to take it away. But this is William Lawrence. William Lawrence, I believe this is running in the Lansing area. He has 38%, and he is about 6.5 points ahead of Bridget Brink. Bridget Brink had a lot of AIPAC support, a lot of AIPAC funding. William Lawrence was the Bernie Sanders insurgent candidate. So this is getting to be a much tighter race than people thought. Initially, I was going to say it was a terrible night for AIPAC. It might just be a kind of bad night, which is far from a terrible night. And of course, AIPAC has been successful in fending off a challenge from Cori Bush out in St. Louis, Missouri. And we'll look at see if there's any changes for governor. Again, that's just to see John James, who is an interesting person because he's a Black Republican. Trump likes Black Republicans. He has Trump support. Perry Johnson, who's kind of an interesting character. He is a billionaire, spent a lot of his own money, and tried to suck up to Trump, but never got Trump support. And he was running for president, but couldn't get on the make it into the debate stage, even though he poured tens of millions of dollars. At least Tom Steyer, who recently lost for California governor, at least he did respectably, right? But Johnson looks like he's down for the count. But it could change. But he put up a fight, and the other way to look at this is how strong is Trump's strength? And the Trump endorsed candidate is only getting 51% of the vote. Now, some could argue there might even be some racism in there in that regard. Well, the 1%, the few Black Republicans, I always say, hey, technically there are still millions of Black Republicans. It looks like the Black Republicans in Detroit are voting John James. Grand Rapids, decent Black population, John James. There are some, I bet probably for this primary, it would be 10% Black, would be my guess. 10% of it would be the Black vote. More so that you would have in Grand Rapids and Detroit, of course. Interesting to see some of the rural counties. Are they really that racist? Not, Kalamazoo is not rural, but this one is. Cass County. Cass has been coming in early and been showing a lot of results, which I appreciate. And that's very rural. Niles, Michigan is near here, I believe. John James is still winning, so I'd be happy if I were John. I'd be all right. Although he got to run for his money, and again, the Trump endorsed candidate only seems to be cracking only about 51% of the vote, and it'll be interesting to see in some of the, the easier to get an idea of Michigan for Republicans because more Republicans are concentrated in rural areas, and we get the rural results first. So we kind of have more of a set in stone idea of the governor's race than we would of the Senate race. Washington is still not closed, unsurprisingly. I don't think it closed. I think I'll be long gone by the time it closes. Please do subscribe, guys. Let's watch some stuff together. Why not? Let's look at the speeches. So let's see if if anybody's doing speeches. Probably Wesley Bell. So let's watch a little bit of that. So one of the things that might be fun to watch me on the YouTube is you'll be watching everyone else to see the speeches of Abdul and Haley Stevens, but I'll also do some under the radar ones like Wesley Bell and that race, which you might not necessarily think about. Just seeing if anything has come up yet. So let's see. I'm gonna do like an official, like I wonder if there's an official YouTube. See, all of these APAC people hide. Like they're not that accessible. They don't post anything online because they know they're just gonna get shit talking. And so because of that, like I wish they were live streaming on their Facebook and they're live streaming their speech. Because that would be kind of interesting. Definitely nothing. Isn't it great that you can't hear them like even give a speech? Yeah, to log in. Man, you're gonna see all the login shit. So no, bummer. Well, let's give you a little example of Cori Bush last time around. So again, she's one of the endorsed candidates endorsed by Bernie Sanders. Oh yeah, she had an interesting. So she lost again. So this is her speech. Uh, this is her speech from 2 years ago. She just got defeated again, or didn't make it. That's just a little example. Watch some of the. Well, this is not a paid. This is not a paid stream, so we could hop around and stuff and just see if there's any interesting updates about where the results are from. Uh, I'm just trying to keep myself aware of anytime somebody makes a concession speech, any of them worth listening to. Maybe Sri Thanadar, for example. Donovan McKinney, who looks like it just won. He's the one that beat Sri Thanadar, who was an APAC kind of backed candidate. And so he has officially won. Campaigns with Hassan Piker, of course. So most of the people, except for Cori Bush, who campaigned for Hassan Piker, campaigns with Hassan Piker did quite well. But I don't think he's giving a speech right now. So I'm surprised nobody is usually you kind of give speeches somewhat early. Looking for anything. Well, let's look at an update to see if any of the Senate results have changed. Maybe not. It's getting a lot tighter, somewhat tighter, 50 to 51%. Detroit, but it's just a snail's crawl to Detroit. I don't know when Detroit's actually going to come in. I still think there's no way Haley Stevens actually wins this, especially with more results that are going to be in El Sayed's base. Detroit, you're going to have younger people. You're going to have the yuppies, which are going to go for El Sayed. You're going to have a strong Muslim population. And again, we always want to be looking at what is her home base? How is Haley Stevens doing in her home base? And the answer is she's doing very badly. She is getting less than 50%. She is less than 2 points ahead of Abdul El Sayed. This was the county that she got elected to in Congress. This county matches most of her congressional seats. If you're only losing your home base by a sliver of support, then that's not good. Sorry, guys. Just trying to figure out. Oh, my dog's right there. I was like, where did my dog go? So I think that essentially, and we have to look at how much do we have in Oakland County. 67% of the vote. This is very bad. So everybody's going to be weighing Detroit. The mainstream media is not going to cover it, call it. But if in Oakland County you were doing this bad, you've lost the election. This is going, people think this is tight, but I think it's going to be a larger spread. And I think ultimately you'll see Abdul 55 to 56% of the vote. We only have 2% of the vote in for the city of Detroit. Once we get more, it'll be much more favorable to El Sayed. So there's some nervousness, I think, for people supporting him, thinking he's not going to make this. But this is her bread and butter. 60% of Haley Stevens' bread and butter has come in, and she is only ahead by 2 points. 2% of El Sayed's bread and butter has not come in. But Haley Stevens is ahead, I'll say that, but it's only 2%. Now, there could be some freak flip. Abdul El Sayed remains strong. Oh, okay, he's got a little less now. 2%. Let's see if there's any change of results in terms of the vote that has come in for Detroit. Please do subscribe, guys. Please do comment in the chat if you can. Nobody said anything today. Hope I'm not missing any comments. Because we have a nice amount of people. We have a few people watching. That's why I'm kind of surprised. But nobody's saying shit. That's okay. Thanks for watching and not saying anything. Papa, can you hear me? Papa, can you hear me? So Detroit is still only 2% in. Snails crawl, man. I mean, oh, we know the results, but Detroit's taking so long to count that they might not call it for a handful of hours, maybe even up until the morning. So, kind of a bummer. They're not good at counting. Hey, come. Hey. Introduce you to my dog. I don't shock it, unlike other people. He even looks like. Who do you support? You support Israel. Support APAC. He's sad. He's like a support APAC. He likes pastrami, so he likes APAC. He likes Jewish deli food better than he likes gyros. So he's like, I'm on Team Israel. They have better food. Yeah, I know. Pastrami. Hey, that's you. Do you care? Guess not. What if it's just like people think it's him talking? All right, hey, I'm a dog. I'm the first talking dog. I'm going to analyze this primary. First, I'm going to leak my nutsack. And that's the thing. The nutsack is 50% saltier than I thought it would be. I am 40% more stupid than I thought I would be. And 40% spastic. Great report. None of y'all's commenting. All right, I think I need to walk my dog. Unless anybody wants to comment. I guess not. We'll do one last final wraparound. Look at the final results. 23% of the vote in as of now. 51.6% of the vote to 45. So that is 6.6 difference. 6.6% is the difference. And again, we're looking at just a few key areas. One is the home base, Oakland County of Haley Stevens, and the home base, 49.6 to okay. Abdul Essayed got 0.1% additional in votes just now. So now we're at 51.7 to 44.9 with the ghost. Ginger Power. The ghost of Mallory McMurrow. Holding it down. Respect. What if Mallory McMurrow makes a difference, man? That'd be wild. She could. He's too stressed. He's rooting for Israel. Sorry. This is how the dog is going to take over. Well, here's the thing. I don't really like gyros that much. It's too much sauce. I like the pastrami. I like Netanyahu. I think APAC should own us all. They've been very nice to me. They have great food. I don't like hummus. I don't like halal. I like pork. I don't know. I like gefilte fish. He's rooting for Haley Stevens. Big Stevens supporter. He's like Stevens number one. Haley Stevens number one. I'm kidding. He's not voting. He doesn't vote. I don't think. The thing about dogs, you get a dog and you don't realize like you never know who you're going to vote for president. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make it very interesting. I asked him once and he didn't reply. He didn't say anything. Hashtag rude. Dude, who you voting for? Who you voting for? Hey, who you voted for? Who are you voting for? Yeah, great. Thanks. That was a fun meeting. Let's see if there's any updates. $51.7 to 44.9. So you could round that up. You could say 52 to 45. So still very comfortable. Wayne County, the state's most populous county, includes a majority black Detroit, yes, and several towns with large Arab populations. One to be Hamtramck, for example. Arab? Are we still saying Arab? El Sayed plus 4 points. This suburban county, Oakland, is one of the state's wealthiest and contains Stevens House District. So this is why El Sayed is going to win, because there's 67% of the vote in her own district, in her home district, and she is only ahead by less than 2 points. If this is your bread and butter, if this is your base, you need to be ahead here to win by at least 20 to 25 points. She is only ahead by less than 2 points. Cone County, working class suburb for Detroit, voted for Obama twice before flipping a vote to T-Rump 3 times in a row. So El Sayed is, this is an electability argument. El Sayed is winning kind of the white working class area. This is a powerful argument for people who support the socialist wing of the party, saying, well, they, in the primary at least, amongst the white working class populace, they romp. And Lord knows that's a hell of a lot of Michigan. I don't know how to say the name. I know Ann Arbor, Washington, Washington, County, Washtenaw. The county contains the college town of Ann Arbor. So again, this is a college town, University of Michigan. I once spent a Paris abroad with some UMich kids, and the rudest, most insular, hostile, provincial, animalistic, impolite kids you'll ever meet. Horrible people. But say la vie. It's a city. We're a college. We're so big. We're a city. Who gives a shit? Ugh. So of course all the University of Michigan's kids are voting for Abdul Sayed. Stupid ass city, stupid ass school. Probably shouldn't insult. No, I'm always insult you, Mish. The kids think they're smart. They're just not actually smart. Kent County, the city contains the fastest growing city of Grand Rapids, which has propelled its leftward shift. Yes, but again, Grand Rapids doing so well. This is the city of Grand Rapids. He is probably going to win Grand Rapids, and people thought that Stevens would win Grand Rapids. Anybody want to say anything? That's the weird part is we have 10 people watching consistently, and not one of y'all is saying anything. I want to check on my phone just to make sure I didn't miss comments. But yeah, that's the result. I don't know more there's to say. I guess it's easier easier if you're talking to some other people. I think I might sign off soon, take my dog for a walk. But unless you don't want me to, then say something. Say something. I'm giving up on you. This is the tragedy of a loser YouTuber. Loser tube. Let's look at Detroit. 4% in, and it's very close. Very, very close. Probably shouldn't be that close. I'd be happy if I were Haley Stevens. If Detroit was this close, maybe it's not so bad after all. I still maintain that Abdul El Sayed will win. There's nothing to assuage me away from that viewpoint. Yeah, we just look at these stats, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of stats I mean, I guess it's not a lot to analyze, right? I mean, it's fun to analyze a lot. There's not a lot to analyze with other people. Um, thank you for commenting, Kitty. I appreciate it. Yeah, and we can watch it go up and down together. This just changed. Who got what? Let's see. 24% of the vote in now, 51%. So again, you have to think 24% of the vote in. It's not that much. There's still, what changed? An extra 0.1% for Abdul El Sayed. Let's double check what percent of the vote is. It's almost a quarter of the vote in. So it's a little less than a quarter of the vote in at this point. And again, I'm calling this for Abdul El Sayed, and the rest of the media isn't, and perhaps for good reason, because I would say you definitely know, but one can make arguments that you don't necessarily definitely know. I know he's winning. I'm calling it for him. If it's a quarter of the vote, and he is let's see. Ooh, what was this? -1. Okay, still same thing. 6.5%, 6%, 6.5% of the vote in. And remember, he keeps gaining and losing, gaining and losing. It's not like it's losing, 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 losing with each little batch that comes in, which is probably 0.001%. Probably each time we get a little update like that, it's probably 0.001%. Each time we get that 0.001% in, the numbers gravitate, the numbers shift. Sometimes it's 0.1 net for Abdul. Sometimes it's 0.1 loss for Abdul. In order to close the gap, you need to hope that each and every update carries a net positive for you. Whereas in reality, the net updates of this 0.001%, it keeps shifting between the candidates. If you're ahead, that's a good thing. If you're behind, it's a bad thing. If you're behind too, you don't know how much Mallory, does Mallory do better and take votes away from you? Or does not even taking votes away from you, but does Mallory McMurrow's percentage increase by and again, 0.1%. This is fun just kind of watching it with you because I could say the example of if you were Haley Stevens, people watching in real time, what are you watching about? And you're watching for all these little updates that we just see. Remember, you saw this little thing in the corner right here, and it said, here, where's it go? Minus. So it went minus 0.1. It went up 0.1. It went minus 0.1. It went up 0.1. Now, there is a 16.3% difference, whereas, where's it go? I didn't see where that went. Oh, well, we'll get another one. So you can see these little things. So you just look at the green and see where does it come out. Was it turnout in the Republican primary in Michigan? That's a very good question. I don't know. I'll look that up. It looks like John James is going to win that. I'd imagine it was a decent turnout because I don't know. I have to figure that out. That's a great question. Who won? Who lost? And I'll have to look that up, but that's a very good question as to like what the actual turnout was. So right now it's a discrepancy of 6.3. I will say I feel better if I were Stevens now because it has gotten closer. With the initial drop of Ann Arbor, Abdul El Sayed was getting 62% of the vote. Since then, that has certainly tightened. It's tightened in the respect of Oakland County has come in, which certainly helped Haley Stevens, but Detroit is still the magic number that we don't really know the results of yet. El Sayed is expected to do well in Detroit. My feeling is, right now you see a very tightening race. My feeling is Abdul El Sayed is going to win by 9 to 10 points. My final prognostication is he is at 53. Who won? Who lost? Minus. He got minus. So he's getting lower. Now they used to be 6.5 point difference. Now they're 6.5% of a difference. Now he's only ahead by 6.2. So you see it tightening. But I still think ultimately Abdul El Sayed gets 53% of the vote. Yes, Abdul El Sayed gets 53% of the vote. Mallory McMurrow gets 5% of the vote. And Stevens gets 42. 42, I think Stevens is getting to 53. I think you want to look at, I think, Central Michigan for, let's see who gained, who lost. He gained again. He gained again. So these little votes, they benefit Haley Stevens one moment, and they benefit Abdul El Sayed the next moment. So again, if you are Stevens, you now have a quarter of the votes in. You want every little minor little vote drop that just happened. You see that little green, it said +1, and then it says -1. You want it to only be minus on the top. You only want it to be minus. And the fact that it's going plus and then minus and then plus, he's going to be the victor. And let's see, minus. So Abdul El Sayed got a minus. Now they are only 6 points ahead. As little as 5 minutes ago, they were 6.5 points difference of each other. Now there's only +1%. She's doing better now. It's less than 6. 10 minutes ago, it was a 6% discrepancy, 6.5% discrepancy. Now it is a 5.9% discrepancy. Haley Stevens is catching up, but we need to continue. Another minus for Abdul. And so now he is at 51% to Haley Stevens 43.5. Look at, as we're just conversating together in the last 5 minutes, look at the dramatic shift that happened. This is I will say this is an interesting race. The count comes in Michigan in a more unique way than the count comes in other states, and it certainly comes more slowly. Gretchen warned him. She's trying. Is it going to be a bad night? Thank you, Logical Assessment, for your comment. My dog says hello. Is it going to be a bad night for Gretchen Whitmer, or is it just going to be not a great night? And so that'll depend on to Stevens. I declare that Abdul El Sayed wins his primary. The mainstream media has not declared that. I think it's very obvious if you see the rest of the results why it's easy to remark that Abdul El Sayed is why he's going to win. 357,226 total counted. Most of those are small. All of these are small dumps, right? Yeah, appreciate you bringing that up, Kitty Lifestyle. A lot of these are all small dumps. Well, the small dumps make a difference to some degree. So before there was only a 5 point. again, Abdul Al-Sayed gains. So before there was it was getting closer. There was only 6-point difference. Who went to the dump? I missed it. There's only a 6-point difference, and now there's a 6-point difference, but it's getting tighter. So Abdul's doing a little better. Let's look at Detroit again. Detroit is 5% in. Uh, 5% in, and I'd want to be doing better in Wayne County if I were Abdul El Sayed right now. I'll say that. I'd be wanting to do much better in Wayne County, but it's only 5% of the vote. But oftentimes voting trends match that and don't diverge that much, but it might. Ann Arbor, again, Abdul El Sayed winning very comfortably. This is, early on we got Ann Arbor, which makes him look great. That's going to be who won, who lost. +1 for Haley Stevens. +1 for Haley. Israel comes to me in my dreams. Put a one in the chat if she actually does sound. If I think Michigan, can you make your screen larger and watch? Yes, certainly. Thank you. Let me try to do it. I'm watching from my phone. Is that better? Papa, can you hear me? Is that better? That's worse. That's worse, right? What about that? Well, you can't even see me. Do you? Oh, hell. How about this? Where am I? Who am I? Why am I? Why am I here? Admiral James Stockdale. Guys, I'm like 95. I don't understand computing machines. Like I'm fighting this war against technology. All right, let's see. All right, we have another dump. Who wins, who loses? I put the cursor on this. I don't know. How's nobody giving speeches yet? Yo, who's giving speeches? I was thinking, man, I was covering the Abdul El Sayed people never gave me they never gave me access to the press party. Although it was at a theater, so I probably could have just walked in. Cool, that's good. All right, good. I'm glad. Oh, sorry, guys. I was looking to see if anybody's gonna give a speech. Looks like not. Oh, that's me. Only 6 people watching. Y'all suck. It's all right. We had 11 at one point. We had a great time. It's kind of fun to see on the screen though. What if I do this? Oh, hey. Sorry. Again, I'm like 5 years old. Well, give him the freaking speech. Give me the freaking speech. Stupid. Yeah. So again, guys, this is Wesley Bell, who is a tough on crime prosecutor who defended his seat against Cory Bush, who's Bernie Sanders endorsed. No, but it's 10 o'clock. Nobody's giving a speech. Damn. See any of the result, updated results. 6-point spread. The spread remains. How much of Detroit do we have? We have Detroit 6% in, and Haley Stevens holding her own. If Haley Stevens remains this decent in Wayne County, it's a bad sign for Abdul. All right, another drop. I don't know who got what. Oh well. No sound. Can you hear me? Put a 1 if there's sound. Is there sound? Okay, you can hear now? Cool, thank you. Let's take one more look at their governor's race for the shits and the gigs. Yeah, so here's some now. The New York Times is not cheering for Abdul, but their comments are to be noted. About 70%, says New York Slimes, about 70% of Oakland County votes are in. And Representative Stevens is winning her home county by just 2 percentage points. 2/3 of the votes counted in Washington. Dr. Abdul El Sayed carries a county, which includes the college town of Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor also has a very large Muslim population. Michigan sets primary record in mail voting and early voting. The Deputy Secretary of State said in a press conference after the polls closed, over 1.3 million people had voted by mail, 226,000 more than in August of 2022. And said more than 139,000 people voted early at the polls, a 90% increase from August 2024. The first year early voting was available in Michigan. Said Dr. Abdul, another comment from the New York Times. Dr. Abdul El Sayed's campaign in Michigan's Upper Peninsula might have paid off, as he leads in 5 out of the 6 rural counties in the regions that have begun reporting. His margins, however, vary. In Delta County, where 65% of the vote is in, he holds a lead of less than 4 percentage points over Haley Stevens. In Chippewa County, where more than 40% of the ballots have been reported, he leads by 6 percentage points. Glad you enjoyed that, Kitty. Yeah, so that's a big thing. Like the fact, let's look at some of the results again in that capacity, because that's an interesting notation to make. As I was mentioning before, Abdul El Sayed is doing very well in rural areas. The New York Times confirms that. Far better than people expected him to do, because there is little diversity and there's little people that would be out of his base. There's less young people, there's less diversity, and Abdul El Sayed is still winning a fair amount of those counties. The reason is because he campaigned and went there. As I was saying before, this is the election that will show, does campaigning in person matter? Does holding town halls matter? Does being person to create a billionaire word, just being person to person matter? Does hand to hand contact matter? Does it win elections? Abdul El Sayed and Mallory McMurrow were certainly doing a lot of it. I wanted to be covering Michigan today and covering Michigan at the actual primary result. But the problem is there's nothing to cover, because Haley Stevens didn't have a single publicly accessible event, and she had not a single one, not even now. So if it ends up being tight, and Abdul, as you can see, is doing quite decent in these rural counties, Clare County, he's winning it. St. Joseph is tight, St. Joseph County is rural. That's very close. Haley Stevens barely winning Cass County, a very rural county. And I'm always listening. I don't know how to pronounce it. Charlevoix, I don't know. Where's Charlevoix? Where is Charlevoix? Charlevoix? How do I say it? Charlevoix? Charlevoix? Lake Huron. So she's doing well. So in some areas, in some rural areas, Haley Stevens is doing okay, but not all of them. I got 4% of the vote. All right, 51. Now he is only ahead by 5.5 points. So I'm a little more relieved if I were Haley Stevens, but we need to look at Detroit. 7% of the vote, still very little Detroit. The question is, does she in Wayne County? Detroit is situated in Wayne County. Does she only win Wayne County by 1 or 2 points? And she should be losing it, quite frankly. So she's not doing badly. Is she only winning it though by 1 or 2 points? If that's the case, then this lead maintains. If she wins Wayne County by more than that, it's such a population cluster, obviously, in Wayne County where Detroit resides, that she could pull it off. I'm still calling it for Abdul al-Sayed, but it's getting far closer than anybody thought. And maybe we shouldn't necessarily trust the hard left media narrative as well, or the enthusiastic, Reddit socialists. Sorry, guys, I got to plug in my computing machine. I'm just talking to my dog. I had to plug in. Where am I? Who am I? Okay. So look at some of the results. I look better like this. I look more masculine. Like you can see more of my facial hair. It's only a good thing. I'll probably sign off relatively soon, though. We'll do one more update. I'm surprised. It is kind of remarkable that an hour, 2 hours and 20 minutes later, there's not a where'd I go? Am I here? There's not a result yet. There's not a victor. There's not even any speeches. Seeing if anything's this is like Mehdi Hassan, hard left, but I'm seeing if anybody's just broadcasted any of the results. So no, he's giving a speech. Thank you, Kitty. I appreciate it. So yeah, Cori Bush had all this hard left support, and she got annihilated. So one of the messages is that the hard left is not appealing to black voters because St. Louis is very black. I think it's certainly a black majority city. It's a great city. People trash on it all the time, but it has great food, great ribs, great parks, very cheap. I remember I stayed at a whole townhouse with my dog for $80 a night. We had a great time. So now it's getting close. Look at this. I mean, I am a little enraged that somebody who didn't have a single public event is getting under a little less than half the vote. Like this person put no effort. And if she wins, she's not going to. I'm positive that Abdul say is going to win. But if she wins, then this will speak volumes and it'll show that need you don't need to contact people in person anymore. So that's the rub. All right, guys. I love you. I don't know. I don't remember when Michigan. This is, yeah, I don't remember when Michigan primary is national news. In 2018, it was some news because Gretchen Whitmer was running against Abdul El Sayed, and he was the left flank of the party, and he got annihilated. I mean, he didn't get annihilated. Gretchen Whitmer won. She got 50% of the vote, and Abdul El Sayed got 35, and Shri Thanadar got 15% of the vote. And Shri went on to become an APAC funded member of Congress who just got defeated by Donovan McKinney today. Uh, but yeah, other than that, I don't. Nobody was watching as Harper Hill, who was an actor on General Hospital or some shit like that, and he ran against Alyssa Slotkin, and nobody cared. And Slotkin walked into the seat, and they're expecting Haley Stevens to be the next Alyssa Slotkin. Alyssa Slotkin had all this success by running a silent campaign, by not contacting voters, by not having town halls, and she was the machine de facto Democrat. And there are a lot of Democrats that figured we'll do something identical to Stevens. She gives a great image. She's a young woman. Yay, the young woman. And there ain't much more to it that we need to present. Uh, if they're successful, it'll show that this formula works. But I don't think that the fact that this was a national primary has establishment Democrats, has Israel Democrats seething right now because they were expecting this to be a walk in the park. Yes, it seems a big issue is Dem voters in the primary. Yes. Well put. Please do subscribe, guys. I'm gonna buy this. Looks like a great shoe, though. At least you know what this is not an ad for? Gay Cruz. Just saying. What's that guy, Ben Bennett or whatever? That stupid guy. And, the conservative podcasters. It's like, see, this is what it's not. Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson, right? Look, Benny Johnson. Look. If you're not looking up gay cruises, this is what shows up. I like two-toed shoes. Not a gay cruise. Just saying. Gay Cruise with Ben. Please subscribe. Subscribe for more gay cruises. All right. We are at what percent? What percent of gay cruise? 28% of the vote is in with Abdul El Sayed at 50.1. Again, it's becoming a tighter race, but I don't see Stevens winning this at all. She needs to go on a gay cruise. Maybe I should just search gay. What happens if you do search gay cruise? 0.2. So Abdul El Sayed just increased his lead by 0.2%. So he's almost at 51. So now he's about 5.5 points ahead, give or take. Anybody wants to make a comment, please do. We have a few more people watching than were watching before, so I appreciate it. I was just about to go to bed, but now I'm not. I'm still waiting to see if where the fucking candidate speeches. What are all these lazy sons of bitches doing? I'm just looking to see because they're live at the party, so I'm just looking to see if they're going to have a victory party or not. No, it's just some dude. Oh, and the biggest drop. Whoa, guys, this is getting closer. There might be some liberal tears happening. This is getting closer. Now, it used to be a 5.5 point difference. It is no longer a 5.5 point difference. Just, if I stop being such a 95-year-old man. Sorry, guys. It used to be a 5 point difference. Now, there we go. That's wild. This is there has to be an update as to why these numbers just changed. This traumatic. I don't know if El Sayed's going to win. I still think he's going to win. I'm pretty positive, but I'm not positive. Because look at that. And I think the reason is that Haley Stevens is holding her own in Detroit. And the expectation is that Abdul El-Sayed kicks ass in Detroit because of the large Muslim population. Problem is, a lot of them don't vote. A lot of them don't like politics. And people were wondering, does the black vote come out as people were expecting it to come out for Haley Stevens? The answer might be it came out stronger for Haley Stevens than expected. Holy shite. So we have a better, this is bad. Wayne County. Haley Stevens is pinning Abdul to the ground, unbuckling Abdul's belt, pinning him on the ground, and raping him. In Wayne County, Haley Stevens is raping Abdul El. It is a rape. She pinned him and got on top of him and is now raping him. At least in Wayne County. Cute dog, thank you. Being a pedo protector doesn't help. Word. I warn y'all, money talks. And the D. But it's interesting, too, because Donovan McKinney is beating Sri Thanadar. And that district covers most of Detroit. So why is it that the hard left is doing so well in that area, yet on the top of the ticket left is not? I never thought Abdul El-Sayed to be worse than, the other thing that is interesting to me is I think that constant internet mockery of Haley Stevens worked in her favor, because it seemed to be like a bunch of Reddit trolls and a bunch of hard left trolls just kind of being mean to her. And I think that elicited some sympathy. Some people become too online, and that can be a detriment to the people who vote and have some sort of contempt for it. But let's look at the results for Sri Thanadar. So I might have egg in my face. I called Abdul El-Sayed the winner. He might not win. I would not be happy if I were him. Dude, how many times can I highlight your comment? Steve Trevor, I warned y'all, money talks in the D. Sri Thanadar. Oh, here, let me move my thing. Ah! I didn't mean to do that. Shit. No. Okay. Sri Thanadar. He's now winning. Everybody thought this is going to be a slam dunk. This is Sri Thanadar representing the city of Detroit. Sri Thanadar was in the top 10 candidates receiving the most amount of money from AIPAC in any primary across the country. Sri Thanadar could barely speak English. Sri Thanadar received trouble he had like a Johnson & Johnson type cosmetic company for testing his products on beagles and killing them and imprisoning them. Donovan McKinney was a qualified state representative. Donovan McKinney has the endorsement of Bernie Sanders, of Abdul El-Sayed. What this all shows is that money talk. I mean, there's a lot of disinterested people in Detroit, and it might be a simple communication. Money talks in Detroit. But the total is 243K. Yeah, there's still a lot to be counted. But it should be going better in Wayne County than it's going. Where the 100K votes go. There's a bunch were probably just counted. Dodges. Hey, Annabella, nice to have you. Sorry we didn't connect last time, but I'll be back in New York again soon, so we'll connect. It's not looking good. The fact that Sri is hanging on. I mean, this is going to be a long night. We have a fair amount of people watching, so I appreciate it. But it's going to end up being a long night. Let's do an update. He keeps losing and losing and losing. There is a constant negative next to Abdul El Sayed's vote total when a new vote total comes in. So much so that now, well, here's the good news. Now he's 3 points ahead of her. Before they were exactly tied. So now he's a little better. Does Mallory McMurrow make all the difference? Yes, now 5K total, which is what percent? A third, a little over the third is a little over third is in there. It's counted. 3 points now. He's now 3. Ooh, who got the win? I missed it. 3 point spread exactly. Even if I lose, I wouldn't be upset at myself if I were Haley Stevens. Ooh, who won, who lost? Didn't say. So let's pay attention to another vote drop that comes. It didn't say who is plus and who is minus. That's annoying. Sorry, I'm looking at anything interesting to talk about. They're looking at benchmarks. What? Well, I don't, the. Okay, so here are benchmarks, which they say the minimum that one must do to win. He's in. See, this is what they're saying. In rural counties, he's far more ahead than people thought. It's almost as like all of this is going topsy-turvy. And for some reason, Stevens is doing better in a county with a lot of Muslims. And then Abdul Al Sayed is doing better in a county with a ton of white people. Go figure on that shit. Here's the weirdest. Here's the freaking weirdest narrative of this. Abdul El Sayed's strongest base of support were whites, working class whites, educated whites, white power. Abdul should be shouting white power. I'm kidding. But start giving that Elon Musk salute, man. Whites are in love with Abdul. Non-whites don't seem to like him. Asians don't seem to like him. Hispanics don't seem to like him. Even Muslims not voting for him in the number that he needs for them to vote for him so far. Strong for Trump. So strong for Trump. El Sayed is, they thought Stevens would win by 2. El Sayed is winning by 12 points. Anyone else want to chat? Watch me pick my nose, I guess. I'm not going to do it. Watch me drool myself. He can watch me do Haley Stevens impressions. Let's look to see if anybody has freaking made a speech yet. There must be sad. Yeah. They're happy. Fuck Todd. Chuck fuck. They're very sad, these guys. He's gonna start crying. Sorry, bro. You had a bad night tonight. So far, it looks bad. Again, Corey, if you're hard left, it doesn't look that good. Sri Thanadar is winning. Corey Bush got dominated. Haley Stevens is raping Abdul El Sayed in Wayne County. Haley Stevens is pinning Abdul down and riding him without his consent forcefully. That's how bad it is in Wayne County. Let's look to see if there's any updated results. Let's see what Kornacki said. That's a good question. Is Dearborn? Dearborn is in its own county, I believe. Who's going to start? I'm kidding. I was saying Sam Harris in the Majority Report. It's very hard left. Yeah, I watch them. I watch everybody though. Very hard left. Dearborn is not. Dearborn is in A county. Yes, so Dearborn is in Wayne. All right. So Dearborn is part of Wayne. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I was saying the whole time. That's what I was saying, right? I was saying that Dearborn, I was saying Hamtramck, but also Dearborn, uh, is in Wayne County. And Haley Stevens is doing very well in Wayne County. Let's see. So right now it's 3.3. Before it was a dead 3, and now it's 3.3. I like the New York Times one better though. Let's see what Kornacki has to say. I'm waiting. I just want one candidate to make a speech. I can watch myself. Whoa, whoa. I'm waiting. What? Huh? Ah! All right, I'm gonna stop. Hey, hey, it's me. Hey, me. Hey, hey, Papa, can you hear me? I'm gonna see if I miss a. This is getting very retro. I mean, meta. Okay, I'm gonna stop. All right. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. At least I'm on my feed because, of course, that makes sense because I wash myself all the time. No, stupid. It's breaking points. Ryan Grimm's gonna be sad. I think he's an alien, dude. It's Metropolis. Crystal always looking smoking. They're upset. Crystal's hella upset right now. I like pirating other television shows. Thanks for watching with me. It's fun to pirate. Alien Speaks. So they're saying that's interesting. I do like Ryan Grimm. They're saying absentee ballots get counted first. Absentee, which is richer, whiter, not as Islamic, not as young. That's why she is doing well in Wayne County because it's absentee. It is comparable to the results in the 2020 election with Biden running against Trump, and in the middle of COVID, early results showed Trump. Oh, but the early results were in person. So absentee is going to help Steve. I don't know why he was saying it wouldn't help Stevens. I don't believe that because that I don't believe that because the gap keeps. I don't know why New York Times is saying that. They're not. But in some areas, but they haven't done Wayne County. What they're missing is they haven't done much of Wayne County and Detroit yet. Oh, you can't. Whoops. That's funny. You can't hear them speaking. Whoops. You can't hear them speaking. I wish somebody told me. Thanks. The reason he will win is because Haley can beat a Republican. He has no chance if you get support from the right. You know, a lot of people from the right strategically have been crossing over to vote for him. A lot of them have been want to cross over to vote for Abdul al-Sayed. Can you not hear this? Can you hear them speak or not? Put a 1 if you can hear them speak. Put it 2 if you cannot. No, you cannot hear them speak. Hmm. Try. Can you hear them speak now? Do you hear them speak or no? No. 2. You can still not. Weird. Okay. Well, what they essentially just said is that the one of the betting markets has Abdul El Sayed at 96% likely to win. I've said the whole time I still think he's going to win, but this race is way closer than I thought it would ever be. It's 3 points ahead. One new update. So the New York Slimes, Dr. Abdul El Sayed and Haley Stevens are locked in a tight battle for the Democratic Senate nomination. El Sayed, who led by nearly 30 percentage points earlier in the night, that's because Ann Arbor, the college town, is counted, has seen his advantage shrink to less than 4 percentage points. He is winning in person votes, including both early and election day ballots, by roughly 25 percentage points, while Stevens is carrying mail in ballots by a similar margin, which means, unsurprisingly, that Haley Stevens is doing very well amongst older voters. The question is, did young people this time really turn out for Abdul, or did they not turn out enough to maintain Abdul's lead? Yeah, the Abdul election night erupted in cheers. William Lawrence and Don McKinney are both leading, but when the scenes flashed the Senate race showing Abdul El Sayed with a narrow lead over Stevens, it grew quiet. There's anxiousness mixed with excitement at the venue at this century. Look, win or lose, I wouldn't be upset to be Haley Stevens right now, all things considered. Everybody thought she's going down by at least 10 points. She's holding her own. She did something right. And, you can make fun of her as much you want, but she overperformed expectations. And maybe she wasn't as awful as people thought. Maybe I always think that the internet made too much fun of her and people felt bad for her, because I don't like, she says nobody talks like that in Michigan. I've met people who sort of talk like that in Michigan. Not a lot, but certainly not where she's from. So maybe she is lying, but who knows? 2. Hopefully you can hear me now. Hopefully you can hear me at least. Yeah, because I think I have but still nobody's speaking. I mean, listen, I'd be, if I were Bernie Sanders and socialists, I would not be happy about tonight. And it's interesting. one thing that seems to be accurate is the polls are actually overinflating support for hard left candidates. And if Abdul wins, which I think he still will, but if he hobbles to victory, I think it is very less likely that Francesca Hong, who is a far worse candidate than Abdul El Sayed, she's the socialist candidate running in Wisconsin. She has no charisma. She sounds like a robot. I think she may lose the primary, even though she's miles ahead. Tell me if you can hear. Let's hear some of the. This is like this is the socialist hard left person, and she has the Bernie Sanders blessing, and you just like. I think she's down for the count. So she's that primary is next week. Tell me if you can. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it or not? I don't know. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna finally leave. We don't have a result. We don't have a result for a long time. But I think El Sayed is gonna win, but not by much. Probably by 5 to 6 points. Would be my guess. Love to you all. Bye bye. Please, you could always, yeah, maybe guy put a 1 if you want me to come back in an hour or 2 hours. Put a 1 if you want me to do that. Put a 2 if you don't. Well, I'm gonna walk my dog. My guess is that he's gonna pull off a victory. All right, bye.